Hello, welcome to FSCDR TV, Warriors Within. I'm your host, Coco. This is a podcast where we create awareness and bridge the gap for sickle cell warriors and make it known about the sickle cell awareness. I have my guest here, Max. How are you?
I'm doing fine. How are you?
It's good to have you. And I'm doing well, thank you. Thank you for joining me. Um, I got to talk to your brother, and like I said, you guys have an interesting story. You guys are the first brothers I think I've ever interviewed so far. Um, and I just want to just dive into yours because you actually hit me with a lot of information. As your brother told me, you guys have 7 siblings.
Yes, we do.
And you said you're the middle child.
Yes.
Okay. So basically that means you're the middle child, the first one with the sickle cell.
Yes, first one with the sickle cell.
Okay. So growing up, how did your mom, how did your parents, handle that? Because if you were the first one, they had all these kids already and they get to you. And now we in the hospital. Like, how do you think they dealt with this?
Well, it was 1985, and as you know, it wasn't like the internet or anything like that. There actually was beepers, the era of beepers, and I would get sick, and there wasn't no awareness about it. She didn't know, I was just going through pain and stuff, and it was an experience, And back then we had to probably call the doctor and beep him, and we had to go to the hospital. Just did everything the doctor told us to do.
So what age do you remember your first crisis?
3 years old. I was 3 years old.
And what do you remember it being like?
I can remember my mom and my dad, taking me to several specialists to see what was really going on because they were thinking I had arthritis and all sorts of other things but sickle cell.
Yeah.
And I got introduced to a doctor which was Jamaican, and he diagnosed me with sickle cell.
Mm-hmm.
And this was I say 1980, probably 1989,
Okay.
989 or whatever.
Okay, so that's pretty much when your parents then found out that they probably both had the trait, and that's probably when they learn experience start right there.
Yeah, they was giving them knowledge about the situation, but not very much knowledge because, like I said, it was 1989, and they didn't really know.
So your first crisis was at 3. That's crazy that you can remember that.
Of course.
But I know you remember memorable things like that. Going forward, what do you remember your next crisis? Because then after 3 we started going to school. So what was that like?
It was basically my mother. She didn't have any knowledge of the situation, and the doctors pretty much didn't have any of the knowledge or the resources. So basically, we became like guinea pigs. I was being in the hospital every other month, and probably half of the times I probably didn't have to be in there if they knew what sickle cell was about, because as I got older, you can catch it, you feel me, because you can feel it coming on.
Yeah.
And basically it was like every other month. The experience was crazy.
So elementary school, you were mostly in and out the hospital?
Yes, basically in and out the hospital.
So did you you ever have a problem with school? Did you like school?
No, I actually finished and graduated.
Okay. So that's positive because most of the time they probably think you weren't going to finish if you were always in and out.
Yep.
So how did you maintain going to school and being in and out the hospital? Because being sick,
I was young and I was real tough and rugged. I didn't want to accept it.
Okay.
I didn't want to accept it until it got worse and I went into certain situations and I didn't know.
So when you were younger and you were going through these crises, because you did tell me your crises you were always the one that was always getting sick more than your brother. Did you go through the mental phase of being like, why am I going through this? Why is it just me? My brother has it. He don't get as sick as I do. Well, what was going through your mind and how did you cope with it?
Basically what was going through my mind, I was young, so young. So I basically, like I told you, I didn't want to accept it because I was an athlete and we played sports, and most of my friends didn't know I had sickle cell until I got older.
Okay.
Because I hid it. It's something that you hide, and me coming up in my household, that's showing signs of weakness, that you have sickle cell, and you can't control it. So I basically had to learn, my body and what was sickle cell about.
So that means in high school, it'd be times where you would just be laying in the bed, curled up, trying to just find pain relief for your pain, but you just not getting it so far.
It basically, if I had company at the place I was, like say if I was at school or anything,
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't show signs of weakness. I would play through it, and it would get worse. And
And
me
you
not
just
knowing that, until later on down the line.
until you just you say it got worse. So you would go to school, play the sports, and then come home in pain,
Yeah.
and then just try to sleep it off.
Try to sleep. You ain't sleeping that off.
Yeah, you really not. That's why I'm like, the only thing I was trying to offer sleeping off. But so if you can, what from transitioning from pediatrics to adulthood, what can you say was a difference for you? Can you say it was a difference for you? Did you notice a difference? Because I remember you saying you a lot
Yeah,
of
I
the
got
nurses
I got knowledgeable about the situation.
Okay.
And learned that if I want to play sports, I had to stay hydrated, and that's what I
Sure.
was lacking. Not knowing that this is what sickle cell is about, and the blood cells, they lack oxygen,
Mm-hmm.
and you're not getting oxygen to certain parts of the body.
Yeah.
And I actually got, like I say, I got knowledgeable and I got older. Like this, I gotta stay hydrated.
I want to ask you because we were talking and we were saying like you were saying that it was a lot of times you were at the hospital by yourself because your mom had to go back and forth between you and the kids. So growing up, how did that affect you too? Because that means you were in the room by yourself. You were like you said, we were basically raised by the nurse most of the time.
I'm gonna tell you like this: I was basically in a good position, and God, He don't make no mistakes. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
So the nurses became like my second mom, and they took a liking to me. To this day, they check on me.
That's a
And it's
blessing.
30 years. You know what I'm saying? And I became close to them and had more respect for them.
Yeah.
Because my mom, I see my roommate, his mom and his family coming. My mom and my dad not able to come
Yeah.
because they got to take care of the kids.
Mm-hmm. It's not just you. Yeah.
So I became close with the nurses and had lots of respect for them, and I actually learned, a lot about sickle cell.
So then, growing up as a kid in the because that's basically you grew up in a hospital.
Exactly.
Yeah. So growing up in the hospital, you probably learned all type of medical terminologies from all your nurses.
Of course, because it ain't have to be like that.
Yeah.
Half of those visits, I didn't have to be I didn't have to be hospitalized.
So it made you more aware of the medications you were taking, and it made you more okay.
But this stuff is not getting explained to the parents.
No. And that's where you started to bridge the connection that what you're learning because you're there all the time, your parents aren't seeing. So that's where you started to build. Okay, that makes sense. So then to further on into it, as you got older, we're going to say I'm going to go back to the adult side. Did you notice the difference when you converted over?
Yeah, I would say I did know the difference because actually when I got older, I can kind of like prevent certain ones that I couldn't prevent back then because I didn't have the knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
Like you could feel it coming on, and you just try to stay on top of your health, and so you won't be in those situations. And it's basically like the diseases that come on that your body can't fight off, like it's a common cold, any type of infections,
Yeah. So when you say that you're more hospitalized than your brother, what was the time where you had a crisis that was just so severe that's memorable for you?
I was 16 years old, and my experience acute chest syndrome, and not being knowledgeable about it, young out there, and just hanging out, thugging,
Yeah.
smoking stuff that I ain't supposed to be doing, having sickle cell, and the common cold, which is the flu, turned into pneumonia, where fluids enter the lungs, and me not knowing, So I was hospitalized, and I was hospitalized where my body went into a shutdown and pretty much a stroke. But it, I was blessed because it didn't cripple me to the fact, but I can feel like numbness or whatever. And it took me probably a month or two to walk again. I had to swim laps in the pool, stay home,
Oh wow, you never
all
yourself.
back over with, yeah, because it paralyzed the body.
Yeah. So your whole body basically shut down.
Yeah, because anytime oxygen don't get carried to certain parts of the body, it tends to shut down.
So what age do you feel like you were like, you know what, you said over time you started taking all the knowledge. So what age did you finally go like, you know what, I'm gonna take this? You took it serious because obviously you was in not the hospital. What did you want to say? I'm gonna learn more.
My first time I caught the acute chest syndrome when I was 16. Told myself I didn't never want it because I was near death.
Got you.
I was basically near death.
Yeah.
I'm getting pain meds after pain meds, and it's to the point you don't feel the pain meds no more. So they got this thing where they can't only give you so much pain meds to the fact that they have to put you down. Because if they don't put you down, you're gonna either suffer a heart attack.
So they put you down?
Of course, no, they didn't put me down.
Okay, that's deep.
Yeah.
So when you had acute chest syndrome, did they put you on a ventilator and everything too? No. Okay, that's a blessing too.
I had some praying warriors around my bed, which is my mother, my grandma, and made God some commitments,
Yeah. Because I do agree. Like I asked your brother, because like I said, every episode I say, sickle cell warriors are the strongest people. They are strong. They are resilient, and I know, like I said, that's not nothing that you guys want to hear all the time. God made no mistakes. Not at all, because I feel like not everybody can go through what y'all go through. And somebody has to be here to guide, to lead, to show, to be that person in the light of it, in the midst of it all. So with that being said, going forward in life, like now, like you said, you have praying warriors. Let's go back. I want to talk about your mom. When she starts seeing you going through these crises and you start seeing her not be away, like, had to go back and forth, that probably made you have more appreciation as an adult when you got older.
Yeah, because I seen what she went through.
Yeah.
I seen what she went through, and she didn't lay down.
Yeah.
And I seen my mom sit at the foot of my bed when I went through my first, acute chest syndrome. Mm-hmm. Told God, if it's meant, don't let him suffer, take him home. And I was in agreement with that, so I was just in that much pain.
So at 16, that's when you understood the severity of your that you had the severe sickle cell. That's when you understood it. Okay. Because then I can understand that. So you said you proceeded to finish school. Did you go off to college? Did you finish playing sports or anything after you realized?
I played sports. And I didn't go off to college.
Okay.
I didn't go off to college. What happened was I made some pretty costly decisions that I don't regret. Mm-hmm. Because it made me the person I am today. And it showed me a different life.
Trust me, I understand. So going through life's trials and tribulations, what can you say, learning and having sickle cell, what have you noticed that needs to be more aware, make more awareness to sickle cell, where it can be more advocacy?
It started with the reproduction, which is the women. Mm-hmm. The women got to be more knowledgeable about the situation and willing to, take part in it and to understand what's really going on.
For sure.
Because babies are being had out of wedlock, one night stands, and know this person from a can of paint.
Agreed.
And they innocent. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So the awareness need to be spread just as much as HIV, cancer, anything else.
Yeah, no, agreed. You did mention that the sickle cell only affected you and your brother, so your other siblings don't have sickle cell.
No, they didn't get sickle cell, which is the disease. But they in the gene, they would get what is called a trait, and that's what my parents had, and they didn't know. Because you don't get sick, you don't get growing pain, you don't get none of the symptoms. But if you get with another person who has trait,
you got a full-on baby.
Yeah, sickle cell is the only way.
Yeah, like I said, that's my story. I have a son, and his dad didn't know. I knew, and the same, like you said, the awareness part. If it was awareness brought to it, then we could have prevented a whole baby having this disease. But so with the other 5 siblings that don't, how close knit did they understand after seeing you go to the hospital? When do you think that your siblings start being like, hey, like my brother is not okay and we need to help him and we got to help our mom?
It's basically 7 of us, and if you was to meet all of us, be right, it was like I was the oldest one, because of the road I took. They couldn't handle it, and they knew they couldn't handle it. So I basically, gave them knowledge about the situation and what I was going through, and they seen it. Like my sister, she missed many days just staying with me because my mom couldn't stay with me in school. You would thought she became a young mother at a young age, and I take my hat off to her to this day.
That's a blessing,
because it's hard for you to go there, especially your sister.
Yeah,
this ain't even my mother.
Yeah, and then seeing her brother like that,
Yeah.
honestly, I totally understand.
But it drew us closer.
Yeah, it definitely makes you closer. I guess my next question I want to ask you, so as far as like children, do you have any children? Have you noticed that how is like life with kids and in a relationship and, like making awareness to your partner and your children about sickle cell?
I think it's very important.
Yeah.
And like I said, I got a daughter. She don't have nothing but the trait. It's very important. And I didn't want to chance it or anything. And I prayed and fast that she wouldn't go through this because it was a chance that she could have had that.
Yeah.
But I was blessed in that situation. But it's very important.
Yeah, definitely. Do your kids, have they ever seen you go into crisis?
Now, Daddy's Superman.
Yeah, I was gonna say that because you come off as Superman,
nah,
so
Daddy's
Daddy,
Superman.
So
Daddy
they never
do
seen.
anything.
I like that. So that way they know you're invincible. They never see you down. I like that.
Yeah.
So they don't have they understand, but they never see you go down.
Yeah.
So how is it with your relationship? Is the support, not even the support, because obviously with your partner that's super support, but the understanding, how is it relaying that, like, hey, I have sickle cell and this is how my life? Do you think it was or even with past relationships, how do you explain, explaining that to somebody? Was it hard?
Me personally, explaining that situation to a person who don't have knowledge about the situation, and if you even thinking on that level, like, ooh, you can get cooties, it's a disease, I'm not entertaining with you in it because you can't think outside the box.
I say the same thing. I agree with you.
But if I'm going to acknowledge them about the situation, of course.
I love it because, like, your brother called you a walking book, and I love that because I hear it all in your voice. I can tell that you had nothing but time to just sit there and just research. So that's amazing because not only do you just help yourself, you help everyone else. And that's what I was like explaining to your brother. That's the type of stuff that's needed in a community, in a sickle cell community, because it takes one person like you to go study everything on a book. Because, like you said, people don't really take the time to sit down and really, read about it. No, we're definitely not reading about it. So as far as we talk about like healthcare, let's dive into that. Hospital stays and stuff like that, because you sound like you have extensive stays. Mm-hmm. Have you ever had a time where you felt like your stay was very unfair and you were treated very poorly?
I was very stubborn, man.
Okay.
And it was to the fact that I take my IV out, and when I was young, I take my IV out, leave the hospital, and just like refuse to accept the fact that I got to go through this.
Is it because you didn't want to take it, or you didn't want to listen to them?
It was basically a pride thing, man.
Okay.
I didn't want to be going through that, bro.
I agree. I totally get it. After, like I said, watching my son go through it, I'm his mom, and I wouldn't even want to go through it. And I bear children, so I can understand it.
Because you're thinking, like I said, me personally, that's showing signs of weakness. That's how I was raised. You feel what I'm saying? And I didn't let that hold me back. So it was very important, though.
Yeah, no, it definitely is very important. Is there anything that, like, doing, like, when you would have crisis, what will motivate you to stay strong? Like, obviously not just getting better and like I can't get sick no more, but what was giving you that push to be like, hey, I got this, and I'm gonna just keep reading, I'm gonna push myself through it? What was giving you that motivation?
I would say basically my purpose in life, and knowing that God wasn't gonna put more on me that I could bear. And basically, if it was meant for me to go, He was gonna take me. You know what I'm saying? So I wasn't regretting anything that happened. And like I say, we was chosen, man. We handpicked.
Yeah, for sure. Now I want to ask, when did you come to realization of that? Because usually that's a gap. Because growing up as a kid, most of the time kids don't think that. Kids be like, I'm a kid, and in my life, why am I going through this? It isn't until you start getting older, you start saying,
looking at every birthday and seeing the your fellow sickle cell patients who you grew up with, they dying off. Because it seems like the girls have it the worst. They die more. You see more with girls dying with the sickle cell.
And from doing studies on that, why do you think that's so?
I think just being straight, basically the facts of being the reproductive system.
Okay.
And they go through so much,
That's interesting that you say that, because I have interviewed a couple girls, and they definitely say like certain like pregnancy, certain like menstrual cycle, 10 times harder, and like you said, that's something that needs to be aware of as well, because I did not have knowledge on that, and then once I got the information about it, I went to look it up myself to get full understanding of it. So as far as playing sports, what is growing up as a kid, what's the sport that you want? Because obviously you have dreams, as a kid. What was your biggest dream as a kid, sports wise?
Going to the NBA out of high school.
Really? Okay.
I'm in the area of. I was in the area of it was Kobe Bryant, Allen Iverson, 1996.
I get it. Yeah, you had to go. I get it. So you going through. Because obviously in the hospital when you were a kid, they try to make it fun for you. So going through it, were you always like sitting there, did you think in the back of my head, I wasn't going to make it?
No, I know I'm going to make it.
Yeah.
I'm a reality guy.
I like that. So as far as I heard you mention that you have nieces and nephews with sickle cell.
Yes.
Now, being an uncle and watching them go forward, I guess I'm gonna ask you, how does that make you feel, for one?
Like I told you before, I mentioned to you that we're warriors, but we're handpicked.
Yeah.
And once they know they have a purpose and basically keep their faith, everything will fall in place, baby. So
you fall, and so basically when you basically like the phone call your sisters make, or your brothers and sisters make, whenever your nieces and nephews, you probably the uncle that they pick up and just want to talk to all the time.
Like I told you before.
Yep. You have to be. Like I'm liking this though.
You would have thought I was the oldest brother.
You definitely come off as the older brother. Because I definitely, like I told you, I thought you were the older brother. You come off as an older brother because you can tell that you studied, even from like talking to you about certain things. Not a lot of people have awareness on these things unless you do study it.
Of course.
So I want to dive back into like kind of like your family history a little bit. I don't know if you know much about it. So when your parents found out that that they had you and you have full on sickle cell, and they found out they had the trait, do you know anybody else in your family if they have sickle cell other than your nieces and nephews? No.
I was like the first person.
Okay.
And then my brother came 1988, but he didn't go through any of the symptoms or anything like that. But I was like the first person.
So when you say, like, when we stated back in the earlier, you was like, I was basically like the guinea pig. When you said that they what did you mean by that? Elaborate on it.
I meant basically half of the hospitalizations that I did have, it could have probably been avoided, basically,
Yeah.
Basically could have been avoided if we had more awareness on the situation and we had better medications, which they have gotten better now since over time.
Yeah. So do you find like natural ways, like since you done all this research on how to, because you do have, I agree with you, you have to learn how to take care of your body when you have this, because like you said, like I always say, I tell my son certain medications that is not gonna work for him that work for everybody else. Certain remedies aren't gonna work for you. You know, you gotta find your own comfort to your own self. So doing all this, how did that come about?
I would say probably like 85% of the medications that are getting prescribed to me, in all honesty, I don't take them.
Okay.
But when I go see my hematologist to show my expertise, I see my numbers are better without taking this medication. But you thinking, the whole time you thinking I'm taking this medication, and I'm not.
So what have you learned about yourself that helped you aid? Like I've heard some sickle cell warriors tell me they find doing like certain therapy sessions for themselves without them getting sick. Like when I say therapy sessions for themselves, that means like they stay to themselves and they don't engage with extracurricular activities, and they do a lot of meditating with themselves. And they notice they don't really go into a lot of crisis. What did you find out? What was your soothing point?
No, definitely, most definitely, the mental state. That's where it starts at.
Yeah,
it
for
starts
sure.
at mental, and what I mean by that is basically any stress. Stress brings on all kind of sicknesses. Stress is the number one rule, the number one trigger for sickle cell crisis, and that's just becoming an adult, your everyday adult life, because everybody go through something.
Agreed.
So you got to be in positive situations, positive environments, around positive people.
Yeah.
Basically, that's where it starts at, because stress is the number one.
It definitely is. I do agree with that. And that I can only, like I said, I can only imagine growing up, because you have a lot of siblings. So I really commend your mom for that, because having a lot of siblings and having a kid that's sickle cell anemic, people don't understand as a parent what it's like. And then hats off to your mom for that, and then hats off to her again, because you took the time off to really take a weight load off of her to I'm gonna learn about this and take care of myself. So back to the remedies that you, like I said, so what have you learned to help over time that helps you cope with things? I agree with you. Not all the medication that's needed is not.
It's basically having I learned this when I did time, because I went and did time at the age of 18. And I learned this, and I did 6 years. And out of those 6 years, I only experienced, I would say, probably like 1 or 2 crises in 6 years.
That's good.
And that's when I learned that it's your mental state, and it's basically stress, because I got no bills, 3 meals a day. I'm not home or out anything, I got a release date. It ain't that much stress on me. But when, I'm out here with bills and this and that, death in the family, family problems, because I'm very family oriented.
Yeah.
So when they hurt, I hurt.
Yeah.
So it's basically stress.
Gotcha.
I learned to, just
minimize it.
Keep your face, man.
Yeah. Okay. I like that. So as in for what awareness do you want to make within the sickle cell community?
Awareness I want to make is basically letting them know it's real, first of all. Because you got to know it's real for you to take anything serious, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And basically, start with the mothers. Let's start with the mothers, and then, the fathers and stuff, because the father's going to always have to step up.
Yeah.
But it's basically start with the mothers and, getting them awareness on this stuff. We got to have awareness, bro.
Yeah. No,
and then the money is there. It's just not going in the right places.
Agreed.
So the resources is not there.
Yeah, agreed. I always, like I said, previous conversation with your brother, resources is a big thing that I told him, like I told you before, even if it wasn't for me engaging with people in the community or just going to research, or like I said, or talking to people at the Foundation of Sickle Cell Research and Disease, even just those are those gyms helped me learn a lot more opposed to, like you said, from hematologists and everything else, because it's limited. It's very minimal. It's nothing ever exposed. So as far as for like research, and as far as for like new possible cures, what do you hope for? Because like I say, I'm agreeing with you. In 1985, they didn't have much.
Well, they got a few things coming up in the FDA,
Mm-hmm.
and it ain't approved yet. And like I say, it's a lot of they got a cure for it, but are the side effects worth it?
Agreed. So which ones have you actually thought of? Have you considered any?
Of course, I thought about the bone marrow. It's nothing. I would give everything up.
What's the because I know a lot of our followers ain't gonna know, but what is describe the bone marrow? What is the procedure for a bone marrow?
Basically, the bone marrow, it's like finding somebody's genes and cells that will make the proper cells,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And it's kind of hard though, because you got to find a match too.
Yeah.
You know.
When you say find a match, that means you got to go through different blood type, find a match with your blood type, right?
Yeah, like somebody in the family who ain't got it or something like that.
So that requires a lot of people in the family getting tested.
Yeah, and you know, people not even about that. You know, it's like you looking for an organ or something now.
Yeah. And I see what you're saying, that is
that's a situation, bro.
Yeah. So of course, so now I get what you mean, but because I have heard of bone marrow transplant, I've also heard of the gene therapy as well. I'm not that.
And they talk about this stuff, but they're not making it available to the people that have it.
Yeah.
You know.
The ones that need I get you, that cannot afford
it. Exactly. As my mom and dad was millionaires, okay, they'll probably have me up there talking about it.
Yeah.
Or trying to, experiment on me.
Yeah.
But my name is way yonder.
Yeah.
And the fact that.
No, I get you. I agree. I do. I get you. So I do agree, because I gear towards that. I pray so much that if these drugs are accessible for you guys, because it's needed. It's very much so needed. So I'm going to conclude this with being said, because I do like asking this, because I really hope you and your brother do something positive reinforcement with sickle cell community, these kids, because y'all have a glow and a gem on y'all life, and y'all story is really impactful. Very impactful, just from hearing how y'all transition and growing up playing as kids, and even with you, because you sound a lot like my son. I'm not gonna lie. In and out the hospital, even when it comes to researching things, and I noticed that ends up becoming your life. Like, you know what I'm saying? You end up learning to know that it's okay to be by yourself, and you end up doing research, becoming the smartest kid in the room, and people look at it like it's weird, but it's really, like you said, it's a blessing. So I wish nothing but the best for you and your brother, and I pray that y'all do something expeditiously soon with this sickle cell community. And I thank you for joining me today.
Appreciate you so much.
And that completes our episode. Thank you.